Welcome everybody to our off-road workshop. Tonight's presentation is going to be all about water. The importance of water when we're on our backcountry excursions, how to carry the water. We'll talk about water systems in your vehicle. And it's basically, if you've ever been in an RV or a camper, it's kind of like that, except how to do it in your vehicle, which is super cool. So thank you guys for coming out. All right, water. What are the three things we use water for, maybe when you're camping?
Washing hands.
Yes, washing hands. Thank you. Somebody said washing hands. Drinking, okay, yeah, fine. Yes, no, absolutely. Hydration, our bodies run off of water. Coffee is mostly water, so that counts. But yeah, definitely drinking, washing, cooking, bathing. Hopefully people do that at some point. So yeah, that's what water is for when you're camping, basically. So we need to always make sure that we have water to do those things, depending on the length and the duration of your trip. If you're just going out for a quick overnight, you can probably get by without taking a shower. Unless you're just super nasty, then you probably should take a shower. So the typical rule of thumb is a gallon of water per person per day. And that includes your drinking water and anything that you would use in your cooking, coffeeing. It does not really account for bathing because that takes a lot of water. But typically you need to bring a gallon per person per day. So if it's two of you that are going out for a 4-day trip, that's 2 gallons because you got 2 people per day times 4 days. Anybody? 2 times 4? Yes! So that's 8 gallons of water that you would need to bring. I would add another 2 gallons on there just for good measure, right? Just round it up to a nice happy number. So that's 10 gallons of water that you'd want to bring for a 4-day trip for 2 people. That sounds like a lot of water, but it's amazing how fast you go through water. And when you're camping, you kind of have to not use water like you use water at home because it's not just constantly on tap. It's whatever you bring. Obviously, there's ways to refill water when you're out in the field. We're not going to get too far into the weeds on the water filtration systems and water purification and all that. We're just tonight's context is going to be all about just sort of potable water. So if you're doing a 4-day trip and you need to carry 10 gallons of water, how the heck are you going to do that? Or you're going to need some kind of container to carry water. So water tanks. The common water tank or method of carrying water is just the good old potable water, food grade plastic jerry can or water container. 5 gallons, right? Easy. 2 of those, there's your 10 gallons. There's your 4-day trip. Good to go. This one has a little water spigot on the bottom for handy dandy washing and whatnot. A little fillable top. That way you can fill up your water bottles and everything. So that's a good way to do it. But this has to be stowed and secured in the vehicle somewhere. You don't want just this flopping around in the back of your truck. You want it kind of wedged in somewhere nice and tight, or strap it down and secure it. You can put these up on the roof as well. I like to keep my water, if at all possible, inside my vehicle and as low and as central in between the 2 axles as possible for good weight distribution. You can put water tanks up on the roof, and that's fine, but that's weight. That's kind of sloshing and flopping around. Plus, that's your water tank just cooking in the sun. Be careful with water jugs, because if you have water jugs that you leave sitting out in the sun that are translucent, your water tank will start growing bugs and algae and nastiness because the sun will promote that kind of growth. So get just a good water jug. There's tons of them out there that doesn't allow for sun to penetrate inside your water. But also think about if this is up on your roof rack, that's getting pretty toasty. So if you want a nice, cool, refreshing sip of water at the end of a long day's drive, that's probably, shower water because it's been baking in the sun. But hey, what a good idea. Oh, now I've got a 5-gallon shower jug that's already hot from the sun. So anyway, think about how you're going to store and carry that water in your vehicle. If you're going to do a pretty long trip that's longer than 4 or 5 days, whatever, a couple weeks, you start doing the math. It's like, okay, I got a family of 4. That's 4 gallons of water per day usage. And I'm going to do a 2-week trip. I can't carry that much water. That's a lot, right? So you want to try to figure out, okay, how am I, on my trip, it's part of your trip planning, on my trip, where can we go to fill up water along the way that's clean, potable water, and not have to worry about too much about filtering or disinfecting or all that. So a lot of backcountry travel. Often you're gonna have to pop into town to get gas. Most towns are gonna have, if it's a reasonable sized town of a few thousand people, most towns are gonna have a little city municipal water district, and that office could be the size of a closet or like a whole building. I'll use Christmas Valley as a great example. Christmas Valley, out in south central Oregon, is a dinky little town, population of, 400 people at best. Their city municipal water district is a single wide trailer that's also like the city hall, this commissioner's office, it's like everything, the mayor's office or whatever. And there's a gal in there whose desk she's in charge of the water. But what's awesome is most of these city water buildings will have some kind of, especially out in the backcountry, will usually have a potable water tap or fill station on the outside of the building. So when you're out in the Oregon high desert and your water tank's running dry, that's a great place to top off. So kind of do a little research on your trips and plan for those kind of things. Most state parks, city parks, they're going to have a water fountain or something like that you can always fill up with. So if you need to carry a little bit more water, there's ways to get more water storage. We got a lot of tanks on the back wall there, but there's ways to get more water storage in clever ways and stash it in your vehicle so you can have that capacity to kind of extend those trips between having to refill. But always think of, okay, based on my calculation of gallons needed, how am I going to refill this thing if it's super buried in the truck? So things to ponder. All right, if you are out there and you need to refill from a stream or a creek or whatever, you always want to make sure that you're putting clean potable water in your water tank system in your vehicle or your cans. So if you're going to be filling from potentially dirty sources, have a dedicated can that's like your dirty water can that you can then filter from to put into your clean can. But there's cool systems out there. There's one company, I think they're out of Salem, Guzzle H2O. They make these portable filtration kits that are in like a little Pelican style case. You just alligator clips to a battery, press the button, and it'll run a pump. You just put a intake into the whatever source of water, to the creek, the pond that you're sucking water from, and out the other end is clean, potable water. Awesome, awesome, awesome systems. They're portable. They're the same company that also make like camper trailer or RV water filtration systems. So this is like not groundbreaking technology. This is anything that, if you go buy a camper trailer, most of them are going to have something like that, or at least an option to have that. So this is just a system that's just standalone, because it's kind of hard to have a huge filtration system installed in the back of a Jeep or a 4Runner or whatever. There's just not the room. But this little Pelican case, this is your filters, and then you can refill as you need. So that's also an option. But then you got to plan your trip around water. So let's start talking about planning a water system for your vehicle. You're going on a lot of trips. Let's say most of your trips are the kind of the 4 or 5 day range or a week range, and that's just kind of your standard trip that you like to do. That's when you kind of really want to start considering, maybe getting away from the portable cans and thinking about putting a dedicated system in the vehicle, if the vehicle build allows it. Not all vehicles have the room or the luxury of room or the dedicated purpose to be able to do it. But my vehicle's a daily driver, and I keep a water tank in there, and there's just ways to kind of squirrel it away to make it doable. So think about where you could fit a tank and how many gallons you can possibly fit, and try to fit as much as you possibly can in that vehicle. And again, I always recommend trying to keep it between the axles and as low and as central as possible if you can. But certainly the roof is a place to do it, and we've got provision for that. And with any water tank, including this big guy here, you want to be able to stick it in the vehicle in a manner that it can be secured, because when this sucker's full, it is heavy. And if you go over a big bump or, heaven forbid, you you're on a trail and your truck decides to take a nap and roll over on its side, you don't want your water tank flying through the cab and squishing you like a bug. So that would be bad. Most water tanks for vehicles are going to have recesses or some kind of way to kind of secure this down. So this has these recesses, notches on both sides of the tank there that you can either run a strap or make some kind of metal bracket to where this can kind of stay inside and secured and locked down. I've even seen people run like a bolt through and a big flat plate here through the baffle to secure that up against the cab of a pickup. This is a great one for a pickup or in an SUV, behind like the second row seat or up against the cab of a pickup where we get the wheel arches. And that gives you good, what I think this one's a 13-gallon water tank system. And all the water tanks are going to have fill ports on the top and some kind of output on the bottom. And then with a 12-volt water pump, you can wire in a little basic system and have some running water. All right, to do dishes, to clean, to bathe. This little setup here is just kind of a demo. We don't actually make this, but kind of a cool little setup of what you could do for a basic system. The water is just coming out of this little jerry can here with an intake tube and just a little 12-volt water pumps in there on a power switch, and the power is coming off the portable battery pack. So this is an example of a way to have running water, so that you can wash hands, a little noisy, wash hands, do dishes, do a bit of cooking, wash some vegetables or whatever, take a, wash your face, a little spit bath if you need to. A very easy, simple way to do a water system in a vehicle that's actually not even mounted in the truck, because everything here is portable. So just a good way to go about it. So it doesn't have to be hard mounted in a vehicle. If space is a limitation, this is a great way to kind of plop it in the truck or in the Jeep or in the rig when you're heading out on a trip, pull it out when you don't need it, and use your truck as a daily driver. So these 12-volt water pumps, again, it's nothing new, revolutionary. This is the same kind of water pump, same tap that you would find in a camper trailer. And it's just pressure activated, so the power is on, but the pump's not running until it detects a pressure drop. And then it's gonna charge back up to keep the pressure up. So just like in a camper trailer, that's all these things are. Pretty straightforward. You got an in and an out, and you've got your power leads. And I always recommend with any water pump, have it on a on-off switch that's not too far from where you're gonna be getting your water from, because you don't want that pump always on when you're just driving down the trail for hours and hours, because you just don't know if something's going to leak or not. But when it comes to figuring out how to plumb it, this is what I have in my truck. Do any of you have showers at home that have like a remote shower head? That's what this hose is. It's this stainless hose is the remote shower head for a home shower. And then I just went to Home Depot and got a little adapter fitting for both ends to go to basically garden hose quick disconnect fittings. So that comes in and off. That quick disconnects into the truck to where I've got the hose mounted. Super easy. You can mount a quick disconnect on like the face of some drawers if you have some drawers in the back of the vehicle. And this is just, $15 at Home Depot, fun digging through the plumbing section. Really, really easy to do. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I mean, these are literally garden hose connectors. And they're just quick disconnects. I like using quick disconnects because I can easily take the hose out, drain the hose, drain the system out, winterize it if I need to, if I'm going to be doing some cold weather camping. And this is a garden hose sprayer. And, be fancy. Get the garden hose sprayer that's got, I've got shower, I've got mist, I've got stream if I want to spray somebody down, whatever. But the mist in the shower setting, super nice for washing hands. You're not using a ton of water, but you can still get the job done. Rinsing off dishes. You can put it to the shower setting, hang this up into like one of our ensuite tents, boom, and then just get like a hairband or a rubber band and just kind of keep the handles halfway squeezed, and you got yourself a running nice shower. And you can even get as fancy as getting these propane water heater systems that are also pressure activated. Tons of companies that make them. Julco make them. Camp Chef has one. There's just tons of companies that make them that are run off your propane tank that you would normally have for your stove. You'd have a hose coming from your water tank for hot water, goes into the heater, and then to whatever sink or sprayer nozzle that you have with maybe like a mixing valve, and you've got hot and cold water that you can have on the fly that's just instantly heated by propane based on need. So as soon as you turn the hose on or the tap on, the propane water heater would kick in and start giving you hot water immediately. You can get them even pretty hot enough to where, be hot enough for like a cup of hot chocolate or some tea or something too. So, but the main thing is just kind of figuring out how much water you need and where you're going to put that tank. Another good tank option to think about is behind the second row seat. If you do use your back seat in your vehicle, most second row seats and in the cargo area, there's just like that kind of 60-degree slant to the back of the seat that just makes a nice sort of wedge shape that a tank can just fit in there really, really nice. And we've got a nice slanted tank that fits in there. And I can pass this around if you guys want to check it out. It's a little dusty because we just got back from a camping trip. But it's literally just shower fittings. And some garden hose fittings from, that guy.
This doesn't leak.
No, not at all. There's actually a rubber hose. I don't know if it's rubber, but there's a liner that's in there that from the manufacturer. So I did get shut in the door accidentally and pinched it, but pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot to it. If you're filling up, if you're using the jerry cans, and another good thing to have to fill up cans, which is nice, is a basic siphon. This is made by Safety Siphon, which is a really good company. This is their water siphon, and it's just got a little marble in there on a spring, and you just shake it to get a little bit of water pressure going, and that goes into one tank, and then you can have water coming out this other tank. And this is all just done by a siphoning effect, and you can wash your hands without the end of this hose just by using a siphon, or for transferring water from a small tank to a big tank or that kind of thing. So in my vehicle, I've got a tank that's kind of stashed in the back, super low and hidden. It's about 11-gallon tank. And in order to fill it, it's actually a bit tricky to get to the actual filler cap. I can do it, but one thing that's kind of nice is if you can't drive up to where your water source is, like in a state park, if there's like a fountain that's in the middle of the park and the parking lot's 100 yards away, that's where carrying even just one of these jugs in your vehicle is nice, because I can go fill this and then come back to my vehicle and then transfer it into my main tank. And still get that tank topped off. So lots of ways to go about that. I'll pass this around too so you guys can check it out. It's just a basic little siphon. You can see the little marble in there on a spring. It's kind of like the shake weight, but from back in the day. Same kind of principle. Yeah, just a quick, easy little basic siphon. But don't mix your fuel siphon with your water siphon, because then something's going to taste weird, yeah. Or you're going to be breathing fire, either one. You have fiery burps. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly. So we figured out now how to carry enough water for sort of the drinking and cooking side. Let's talk about showering. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to take those 15, 20-minute hot, long showers when you're camping, because you'll probably drain your entire water tank 2 minutes into that shower. So you got to be quick and efficient with your showers. It's water on, wet yourself, water off, soap the heck out of everything, and rinse. But you can do that with your onboard systems if you're carrying enough of that kind of water. So what I like to do is try to figure out how much water can I get by and have like a decent shower. And so, with like a basic, portable pump shower like what we have on display in there, you can figure out, okay, this is a 12-liter shower. How many showers can I get out of one full bag of this? Usually it's 2, right? Especially if you're washing your hair. So it's like, okay, if that's 12 liters, that gives me 2 showers. That means like a 5-gallon jerry can is usually 20 liters. So, I get a fair number of showers out of 5 gallons if I'm playing it right. So then you can kind of factor that in your equation for how much water to carry. So if you're doing that 4-day trip and you're like, gosh, it sure would be nice to take a shower on day 2, you figure, okay, well, honestly, if there's 2 people, an additional 5 gallons, that gives those 2 people a nice, decent shower, for water consumption. So there's ways to do it. There's ways to kind of budget it in. It's very difficult to carry enough water to have showers each and every day, but it can be done. You just kind of have to plan it and budget it. And then also plan in your trip planning of where to possibly, again, refill and top up your tank. Having that initial planning is going to keep you from getting into trouble on, day 3 of like a 8-day trip, going to turn the water on, right? And oh no, we're out, right? That's bad. So that planning is really going to keep that potential emergency from happening. I actually didn't run out of water. I just turned off the pump. No big deal. But yeah, so it's kind of fun when you have a hands-free tap to wash and splash your face. I mean, gosh, that's like the best feeling in the world. Or to be able to just wash your hands or wash off some vegetables for cooking or rinsing dishes or whatever. Just having some running water makes things so much easier rather than having to dunk things in tubs and tanks and having to, try to rinse things under this and pour, and it gets all fumbly and horrible. And you can get these little, RV trailer taps, faucets. You can get them anywhere, and they're super, super cheap. I mean, there's like a few bucks. This one's cold water only, but they make ones that are hot and cold water. So if you did get one of those propane water heater systems, you could plumb it in. But just something as basic as just some good old Home Depot plumbing fittings, you can accomplish a lot and have that ease and comfort of having running water in camp. It just makes the experience better, especially if you're doing a little bit longer trips that are longer than just a simple overnight. But even then, like if you're just doing a day trip, the other day the other day we just went out to the beach. One of our favorite things is to go out to Sunset Beach for the day, bring the barbecue and let the kids play. And gosh, it's just nice to be able to rinse off your sandy feet before you get in the truck with some running water. Be able to fill water bottles to keep hydrated, all just with quick squeeze of a fixture, and just for something that just a few bucks to plumb in. Really, your big expenses on an in-vehicle system are the pump and the tank, and then it's just plumbing. So there's kind of no set way to plumb in a tank. It's a custom job for each and every vehicle, and that's something that we can definitely talk you through and figure out a method to the madness, a process, to make that happen, if that's something that you would think would help your experience. But it's definitely kind of a bit of planning on both sides and trying to figure out, okay, we're going to designate this space in the vehicle for a tank. Do we want something that's standalone that can just live there, or do we want something that's portable that we can move in and out? There's definitely ways to do it, and it's a game changer of just having some water on demand, running tap, without having to climb through and pull out a water jug. And it's so much easier to fill up the water bottles. If you got a puppy, it's so much easier to fill up a dog dish. It just makes the whole backcountry camping experience better. Powering your water pump. Let's talk about that real quick, because that's kind of a thing. So again, I touched on this setup here. This is just one example, just using a portable power pack, just through a cigarette lighter port is running the water pump is all that is. So as simple as that. If you're going to have a water pump on your vehicle, it's good to give it a dedicated power source that's not the vehicle's starting battery. And we'll talk more about this in really some good detail in next month's workshop when we talk about dual battery systems. But you want to make sure that you've got reliable power that you can run your water pump and not have a dead starting battery on the vehicle. Obviously, that's not a good day when that happens when you're out in the middle of nowhere. So think about how you're going to power the system, how you're going to wire it in. And again, that's something that we can kind of talk through it as a process and figure out, here's the vehicle, here's where I'd like to put a switch, here's where I'd want to put the water spigot, when I open the tailgate, it's just right there. Okay, how are we going to power that? Well, we can figure that out for you. But either a dual battery, a standalone battery, or portable power pack, you got to have some kind of electricity storage battery to power that thing. That's not your starting battery. So try to factor that in your budgeting for the plan. And if you're thinking like a portable power pack or even a dual battery system is kind of in the cards for that, that's a good time to put in an extra power port for a fridge too, right? Because you're already kind of in there and doing it. But then your whole just cooking experience is amazing when you're camping, because you've just got water on tap. You're just more efficient. You're not having to worry as much about water because you've already sort of planned it out and tested it. One thing I would recommend, kind of in conclusion, for tanks, if you are going to do a vehicle-mounted tank system, is think of an emergency backup. What if I have an electrical failure of some kind and my water pump doesn't work, but yet I still have 10 gallons of water in the tank and I'm dying of thirst out in the middle of the desert? What are you going to do? So it's nice to have maybe like an inline, like put a T in the port that goes to the pump with like another quick disconnect that you could just gravity feed out of the tank. And with a tank too, if you're going to do that kind of a setup with a pump, it's always good to put some kind of breather in the lid. Just get a little breather valve in the plumbing department from Home Depot, and you'll just drill a little hole in the center of your lid, thread that little guy in there, put some good sealant around there that's not going to make your water all nasty, and then you've got a breather. Otherwise, that water pump, when your lid's closed, it's going to start creating a vacuum in your tank, and eventually it's just not going to work. So little things like that are just kind of those little tips and tricks to make a vehicle's water tank system function properly. Another little tip too is winterization. Think about how you're going to winterize and drain the system if you have a vehicle-mounted tank. Because one thing that does kill water pumps is water that freezes inside of them. It'll just destroy these things and then it won't function. Another thing we can talk about is keeping your water tanks from getting funky. Water tanks, just from use and time, could get a little funky. You start getting a weird taste in them. So one thing I like to do, if you're getting a brand new tank, even if it's a nice potable water tank or whatever, just get either like a mild bleach solution or like a mild vinegar solution, and just kind of run it through. My initial, when I first get a new tank, I usually do like a mild bleach solution, like a 10-to-1. Just run it through it, let it kind of sit there a day or two, and then just kind of flush through, and then give it a good rinse. That'll just kind of defunk anything that's in there, give it kind of a good initial clean out. And then I like to, once a year, and I usually try to do it when I am winterizing my tank, is I'll run a vinegar solution through, just to make sure everything's kind of clean and nice, and just keep any scale buildup from happening, and any kind of weird, funky flavor that you're getting from water that's been sitting in a hot truck all the time. So good things to think about. Keep it clean, keep your water source isolated from dirty water. You don't even have to use it as water. You could fill this entire thing with coffee and have iced coffee that's just like on tap. You could fill the entire thing with whatever. You could have a gravy dispenser. I don't know. There's all kinds of things you can do with water tanks. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just have have these just all your coffee dispensers. I don't know. I joke, but yeah, having enough water for your trip, for the people that you're bringing on the trip with you, having that proper, on average, gallon per person per day is going to be good. If you're doing a lot of hard work on the trip and it's really hot out, bump that number up. Sometimes even double it if you're really in a hot, humid environment. Like it's been the last couple of days here. If you're just working outside and you're sweating a ton, I would double that number for safety. And then even still, once you kind of figure out your final calculation, add a little safety barrier on that. Put another, 20% on that number. And then that is what you want to try to carry with you on a trip. We covered a lot. Thank you guys for coming out. This was kind of a short and sweet one, but appreciate you guys. Hope you guys learned something about water systems. It's super simple. Again, it doesn't have to be anything crazy or fancy, but gosh, it's just a nice little luxury to just elevate your backcountry experience. So thank you guys.